Hello dear students, welcome to the teleclasses on business studies and management. Dear students, in our previous classes we have discussed management, its natures, its objectives, importance. We have also discussed management, can it be regarded as art, can it be considered as science, and can we call management as profession. While discussing management as science, we have discussed various features of science and we have also discussed various features of management. अगर आप लोगों को याद होगा, हम लोगों ने ये पढ़ा हुआ था कि जो साइंस होता है उसके जो फीचर्स हैं, कि साइंस के जो प्रिंसिपल्स होते हैं वो यूनिवर्सली एक्सेप्टेड होते हैं और वो जो प्रिंसिपल्स होते हैं उनको एक्सपेरिमेंट से उनमें लॉजिक होता है, उनको एक्सपेरिमेंट से डिराइव किया जाता है. क्या हम यही चीज़ें, ये प्रिंसिपल की जो बातें हैं, कैन वी अप्लाई देम ऑन मैनेजमेंट? बिकॉज वी हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड कि मैनेजमेंट जो है वो प्योर साइंस नहीं है. मैनेजमेंट इज़ नॉट एन एग्जैक्ट साइंस. सो व्हाट वी विल डिस्कस टुडे इज़ समथिंग विच इज़ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. वी आर गोइंग टू रीड principles of management. So let us first read what is principle. A principle is a fundamental truth and is generally stated in the form of cause and effect interrelationship. यहाँ दो प्रमुख वर्ड आते हैं, एक है cause, दूसरा है effect. यानी कि एक चीज जो हो रहा है उसके होने के पीछे एक कारण है और वो चूंकि हो रहा है उसका एक इफेक्ट है, इसलिए हम उसे कॉज एंड इफेक्ट कहते हैं. मैनेजमेंट प्रिंसिपल्स आर द स्टेटमेंट ऑफ जनरल ट्रुथ प्रोवाइडिंग गाइड टू थॉट और एक्शन. तो ये जो प्रिंसिपल्स होते हैं, जो मैनेजमेंट के प्रिंसिपल्स होते हैं, वो इसीलिए तैयार किए गए हैं सो दैट दे कैन प्रोवाइड गाइडेंस. गाइडेंस टू whom? Guidance to the managers. For what? For taking various decisions. Decisions for what? We have already discussed that in our previous class. For achieving various objectives or goals of the organization. So, it is a broad and general guideline for decision making and behavior. The principles of management lay down guidelines for improving management practices. So, ये जो principles होते हैं management के, they give you guidelines for improving the practices of your management. These principles are established after long researches and experiences of the manager in the field of management. जिस तरह हमने पढ़ा है कि साइंस के जो थियोरीज हैं, जो प्रिंसिपल्स हैं वो एक्सपेरिमेंट से डिराइव किया जाता है, उसी तरह से प्रिंसिपल्स जो हैं मैनेजमेंट के वो भी एक्सपीरियंस से डिराइव किया गया है, ऑब्जर्वेशन से ही डिराइव किया गया है. So let us now see what different people have to say about the principles. Principles of management are the guidelines or they are the guiding rules of laws for managerial action. तो यहाँ फिर से यही बात को एम्फोसिस दिया गया है कि जो principles of management है उनका बेसिक काम जो है मैनेजेरियल एक्शन को एक दिशा दिखाना, एक पथ प्रदर्शन उनका करना. Principles is a fundamental statement of truth providing the guide to thought and action. We say principle is a fundamental statement of truth. यानी जो principle है वो ये दर्शाने की कोशिश कर रहा है कि ये सच है. एक एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं कि जो मैंने पिछले क्लास में भी आपको यही एग्जाम्पल दिया था कि एप्पल जो है वो पेड़ के नीचे से गिर रहा है तो ग्रेविटेशन जो है वो एप्पल को पुल कर रहा है अपनी तरफ, है ना. ये हम लोगों ने सबने स्कूल में पढ़ा हुआ है. तो ये जो है वो ऑब्जर्वेशन से डिराइव किया गया. साइंटिस्ट और बिहेवियरल साइंस जिन्होंने इनको डिराइव किया है उन्होंने उसको देखा, ऑब्जर्व किया, एक्सपेरिमेंट किया, फिर जाके ये नतीजे पे वो पहुंचे. उसी तरह से प्रिंसिपल्स जो मैनेजमेंट के हैं उनको भी ऑब्जर्वेशन से डिराइव किया गया है और वो जो दर्शाते हैं वो सच है. नाउ लेट अस कंसिडर एंड डिस्कवर व्हाट आर द वेरियस नेचर ऑफ प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ मैनेजमेंट. Principles are general propositions which are applicable when certain conditions are present. उनके होने के लिए कुछ conditions का present रहना बहुत ज़रूरी है. So we say they are general propositions which are applicable when certain conditions are present. These have been developed on the basis of observation and experimentation as well as personal experience of the manager. यही part जो है personal experience of the manager principles of management को principles of science से differentiate करता है, क्योंकि साइंस के प्रिंसिपल्स में पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस की कोई जगह नहीं होती, लेकिन प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ मैनेजमेंट जो हैं वहाँ जो आपने ऑब्जर्व करके डिराइव किया है, जो एक्सपेरिमेंट से आपने कंक्लूजन निकाला है, वहाँ आपको अपने पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस का जो है, आपका जो पर्सनल तजुर्बा है, उसके अनुसार भी आपको काम करना होगा। क्या आप जानते हैं ऐसा क्यों है? ये मैंने पिछले क्लास में भी आपको बताया था दैट इन केस ऑफ अदर subjects other than management, the subject matter of the research are not human beings, whereas in case of management, the subject matter of the research are human beings, and nobody can predict human behavior with full degree of accuracy. इसलिए कोई नहीं human behavior को full degree of accuracy से predict कर सकता है. That is why we say that these have been developed on the basis of observations and experimentations as well as personal experience of the manager. Then these principles are guidelines to actions. ये आपको गाइड करते हैं कि आपको क्या करना चाहिए, फिर आपकी अपनी मर्जी है आप वो चीज़ करते हो या नहीं करते हो. So they simply provide you the guidelines, the do's and the don'ts we say. They denote a cause and effect relationship. यानी अगर कोई चीज़ हो रही है ना, उसके पीछे कारण है, और अगर वो चीज़ हो रही है तो उसका इम्पैक्ट किस पे और क्या पड़ रहा है, इसे कहते हैं हम कॉज एंड इफेक्ट रिलेशनशिप. वन may distinguish principles of management from those of pure science. Management principles are not as rigid as principles of pure science. They deal with human behavior and thus are to be applied creatively given the demand of the situation. यहाँ जो है personal experience of the manager वाली बात apply होती है. Since a manager has to deal with people, apart from what guidelines are laid down by a particular principle, he has to apply his personal experience in similar situation or experience of any other person he has heard or he is taking an example of. Human behavior is never static and so also technology. तो यहाँ सिर्फ बात ह्यूमन बिहेवियर की नहीं है, यहाँ बात टेक्नोलॉजी की भी है, क्योंकि मैनेजमेंट में अगर हम ह्यूमन बिहेवियर पे स्टडी कर रहे हैं तो साथ ही साथ जो एनवायरनमेंट है जहाँ बिजनेस ऑपरेट कर रहा है, जहाँ पे सिर्फ ह्यूमन बींग्स अकेले नहीं हैं, अदर इंटेंजिबल आइटम्स जैसे कि टेक्नोलॉजी ले जाओ वो भी आ जाती है, विच इफेक्ट्स द बिजनेस. नाउ लेट अस डिस्कस द नेचर one by one. Universal applicability. The principles of management are intended to apply to all types of organization, business as well as non-business, small as well as large, public sector as well as private sector, manufacturing as well as service sector. कहने का तात्पर्य ये है कि मैनेजमेंट के जो प्रिंसिपल्स होते हैं उनकी एप्लीकेबिलिटी यूनिवर्सल होती है. You can apply these principles so developed in any organization. You can apply it to a business, which is a profit-making organization, as well as a non-profit making organization. You can apply it to a large organization. You can also apply it to a smaller organization. You can apply it to a public sector undertaking. You can also apply in private sector organizations. You can apply it in manufacturing sectors. You can also apply in service sectors. So ऐसा कोई बाउंड नहीं है कि कहाँ हम मैनेजमेंट के प्रिंसिपल्स अप्लाई नहीं कर सकते. However, the extent of their applicability would vary with the nature of the organization, business activity and scale of operation. कितने हद तक मैनेजमेंट प्रिंसिपल्स कहाँ कितने हद तक अप्लाई होंगे, ये जो है डिपेंड करता है कि आपका जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है उसका नेचर क्या है, स्केल ऑफ ऑपरेशंस क्या है, क्योंकि जो प्रिंसिपल स्मॉल स्केल में अप्लाई हो रहा है वो थोड़ा चेंज होके लार्ज स्केल में अप्लाई हो सकता है ना. नेक्स्ट, जनरल गाइडलाइंस. द प्रिंसिपल्स आर गाइडलाइंस टू एक्शन बट डू नॉट प्रोवाइड रेडीमेड straight jacket solutions to all managerial problems. मैंने बार बार ये आपको कह रखा है कि मैनेजमेंट के जो प्रिंसिपल्स होते हैं वो सिर्फ गाइडलाइंस प्रोवाइड करते हैं. दे डू नॉट प्रोवाइड एनी रेडीमेड सॉल्यूशन टू अ गिवन प्रॉब्लम. दे कैन गाइड यू. दे कैन गाइड अ मैनेजर if a particular situation comes, then what he should do, what he should not do. अब वो एक्चुअली में वो कर रहा है कि नहीं, वो प्रिंसिपल्स नहीं देखता. This is so because real business situations are very complex and dynamic are a result of many factors. क्योंकि real business situation जो है वो बहुत complex है and dynamic है, क्योंकि चेंज होता रहता है बिजनेस का. जो बिजनेस जो जिस एनवायरमेंट में ऑपरेट कर रहा है वो चेंज होता रहता है. देन कम्स फ्लेक्सिबल. द प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ मैनेजमेंट आर नॉट रिजिड. ओके, दे आर flexible in nature. They can be modified depending upon an organization, depending upon its activity, depending upon its nature. It can be changed. The applicability can be changed. Cause and effect relationship. The principles of management are intended to establish relationship between cause and effect so that they can be used in similar situation in a large number of cases. As such, they tell us if a particular principle was applied in a particular situation, what would its likely effect. तो बेसिकली ये कॉज एंड इफेक्ट रिलेशनशिप बताता है कि अगर पर्टिकुलर सिचुएशन में ये चीज़ अप्लाई होती है तो उसका इम्पैक्ट और उसका इफेक्ट जनरली क्या होता है. डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द सिचुएशन आप प्रिंसिपल्स की एप्लीकेबिलिटी चेंज कर सकते हो. Formed by practice and experimentation. The principles of management are formed by experience and collective wisdom of manager as well as experimentation. ये भी मैंने आपको शुरू से बताया हुआ है कि मैनेजमेंट के जो प्रिंसिपल्स होते हैं सिर्फ एक्सपेरिमेंट से नहीं, पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस से भी बनाए जाते हैं. Behavioral. Management principles aim at influencing behavior of human beings. Therefore, principles of management are mainly behavioral in nature. Basically, management के जो principles होते हैं वो किसे influence करते हैं, वो influence करते हैं human behavior को. Therefore, principles of management are mainly behavioral in nature. तो अब तक हम लोगों ने पढ़ा कि principles क्या होते हैं. बेसिकली मैं बार बार आपको ये समझा रही हूँ कि principles, मैनेजमेंट के जो प्रिंसिपल्स होते हैं वो फंडामेंटल ट्रुथ है एंड दे बेसिकली प्रोवाइड्स गाइडलाइंस. दे डू नॉट प्रोवाइड एनी रेडीमेड सॉल्यूशन टू एनी गिवन प्रॉब्लम. दे आर हाईली फ्लेक्सिबल इन नेचर. दे एस्टैब्लिशेस कॉज एंड इफेक्ट रिलेशनशिप. दे आर जनरल गाइडलाइंस एंड दे हैव यूनिवर्सल एप्लीकेबिलिटी. Dear students, let us now discuss the significance or importance of the principles of management. The principles of management, as we have already discussed, derive their significance from their utility. They provide useful insight to managerial behavior and influence the managerial practices. Managers may apply these principles to fulfill their tasks and responsibility. We have already discussed that they provide guidelines for the managers to take important decisions. First importance or significance is scientific decisions. Management principles help in thoughtful decision making by emphasizing logic rather than blind faith. It doesn't give any importance to blind faith. There is a logic behind the principles of management. Management decisions taken on the basis of principles are free from bias and prejudices. So, there are no bias, no personal views, no prejudices when decisions are taken on the basis of the principles, so derived out of the observations and experiences of people or managers. Then, optimum utilization of resources and effective administration. Principles equip the managers to foresee the cause and effect relationship of their decisions and actions. As such, the wastage associated with a trial and error approach can be overcome. We have already discussed the cause and effect relationship associated with a principle, isn't it? So, what happens when a manager takes a decision basing on these principles? The chances of causing any wastage hastily or in a trial and error method get reduced. Meeting changing environment requirements. Although the principles are in nature of general guidelines, but they are modified guidelines. They are modified and as such help managers to meet changing requirements of the environment. So, depending upon the changes in the environment, management principles can be modified. Enhances research work in management. Modifications are required in principles of management when are applied to the different situations. So, management researchers examine these principles from time to time for suggesting the suitable modifications in these principles. So, basically research work is enhanced when we go for taking decisions on the basis of management principles, because we have already discussed that management principles are flexible, they are not rigid. Depending upon the changes and the demand of the situation, the principles are modified. So, people work constantly on the changes in the environment and the respective change required to be made in the principles of management. Providing managers with useful insight into reality. Adherence to these principles will add to their knowledge, ability and understanding of managerial situations and circumstances. It will also enable managers to learn from the past mistakes and conserve time by solving recurring problems very quickly. They are not going to waste more time because they are taking decisions on the basis of principles. Now, let us read. Since we have completed the significance of management principles, we have till now completed that principles are of great importance and significance. Now, just give a thought that where from these principles have come from. So, let us now go for a journey of evolution of these principles. Evolution of management principles. In tracing the history of management, one comes across various schools of thoughts that have outlined principles to guide management practices. These schools of thought may be divided into 6 distinctive phases. The first one is early perspectives. The first known management idea were recorded in 3000 to 4000 BC. One pyramid built by Egyptian ruler Cheops required work to be done by 1 lakh men for over 20 years in 2900 BC. It covered 13 acres of land and measured 481 meters in height. The stone slabs had to be moved thousands of kilometers of distance. As the folklore goes, even the sound of a hammer was not heard in the village in the vicinity of the site of these pyramids. So, just imagine it's in such a big land, a pyramid is to be constructed where the transmission of sound was a constraint. Such monumental work could not be completed without adherence to principles of sound management. Now, let us discuss the second one, the classical management theory. Rational economic view, scientific management, administrative principles and bureaucratic organizations characterize this phase. While the rational economic view assumes that people are motivated by economic gains primarily, scientific management of F.W. Taylor, about which we will be reading in our subsequent classes, are others emphasized on best way of production. Administrative theories personified by Henry Fell, about which we are also going to read further classes, looked at the best way to combine jobs and people into an efficient organization. So, large-scale production would not have been possible without adherence to principle governing organizing production based on division of labor, specialization, relationship between men and machine, managing people and so on. Dear students, we would be covering all these principles in our subsequent classes, and then you could know how these principles are making the work of people, basically the managers, easy, how beautifully and how with an ease they are able to manage the organization because of these management principles. The next theory is neoclassical theory, that is the human relation approach. This school of thought developed between 1920s to 1950s felt that employees simply do not respond rationally to rules, chains of authority and economic incentives alone, but are also guided by social needs, drives and attitude. So there is some touch of the human behavior over here. So it is felt that people are not going to react only to the rules, the economic concepts, the authority, etc. They are also guided by the social needs. The Hawthorne studies at the GEC etc. were conducted then. It was quite natural that in the early phase of the Industrial Revolution, the emphasis was on development of techniques and technology. The attention to the human factor was the salient aspect of this school of thought. The attention was to serve as a precursor to the development of behavioral science. Let us now go to the next one, behavioral science approach, which is called organizational humanism. Organizational behaviors like the Chris Agris, Douglas MacGregor, Abraham Maslow and the Frederick Herzberg use the knowledge of psychology, sociology and anthropology to develop this approach. These are the various people about whom you will be reading further in your higher classes, that what are the various theories they have developed that are associated with motivations, that how people can be motivated to work. The underlying philosophy of organizational humanism is that individuals need to use all their capacities and creative skills at work as well as at home. Let us now go for the management science operational research. It emphasizes research on operations and use of quantitative techniques to aid managers to take decisions. That means apart from understanding the human desire at work, what do they want, what the manager want, what the employees want, apart from that it is important to use certain techniques which must be quantitative in nature so as to help the managers in taking various decisions. And here comes the modern management. It sees modern organization as complex system and underlies contingency approach and use of modern techniques to solve the organizational and human problems. As we have already discussed in our previous classes, that management is not static. It is the business which operates in an environment which is subject to change. Change is inevitable. So, depending on the changes in your internal as well as external environment, the requirements of management also changes and management changes. Similar to this, if when management changes, the applicability and the need of applying the principles also changes. Depending on the requirement of the management, the applicability of principle will vary. So, now there is a need for the organizations to develop certain modern techniques. That means, since the business is changing, you need to adapt yourself to the changes, and as a strategy of adaptability, you need to develop strategies which are up to date. That is why we give emphasis on the modern techniques to solve various organizational and human problems. Because in an organization, it is not only the problems of the people who are running the business, there are organizational problems and also problems related to human beings. Because many a times I have told you that management is related, or it is basically human beings related to management. So, there are human problems also which are to be dealt with, not only with the personal experiences, some up-to-date techniques are to be developed to deal with these problems. So, dear students, till now we have covered the origin of principles of management. We have discussed what is the principle of management, what are the nature or characteristics of principles of management. We have also discussed the various importance of principles of management. In our discussion, we have also covered the origin, the evolution of these theories, the management thought. I hope you people must have understood what I tried to deliver to you. Today we will read principles of management, basically the 14 principles suggested by Henry Fayol. Now let us first know who is this great personality. Henry Fayol was a French mining engineer who turned a leading industrialist and a successful manager. He started his career as a mining engineer in a French mining company and rose to the position of chief managing director. His theories deal with organization of production in the context of competitive enterprises that has to control its production cost. Fayol was the first to identify 4 functions of management: planning, organizing, directing and controlling. Although his version was a bit different. His versions were plan, organize, command, coordinate and control. According to Fayol, all activities of an industrial undertaking could be divided into technical, commercial, financial, security, accounting and managerial. He also suggested that qualities of a manager must possess should be physical, moral, education, knowledge and experience. Based largely on his experience, he developed his concept of administration. The 14 principles of management propounded by him were discussed in details in his book General and Industrial Administration. Due to his contribution to the development of managerial thoughts, he is called father of modern management. So let us now discuss the 14 principles suggested by Henry Fayol, which serves as guideline for decision making and management actions. The first principle is division of work, or many times it is said division of labor. This principle of Fayol tells us that as far as possible, the whole work should be divided into different parts and each individual should be assigned only one part of the work according to his ability and taste, rather than giving the whole work to one person. एक आदमी को सब काम देने की जरूरत नहीं है. एक आदमी को काम देते वक्त काम को डिवाइड करना चाहिए और वो डिवीजन होने के बाद जिस काम को करने में उसे खुशी मिलती है वो आसानी से कर सकता है, उसे वही काम देना चाहिए. When a particular individual performs the same job repetitively, he will become an expert in doing that particular part of the whole job, and as a result of which the benefits of specialization will become available. So according to Fayol, the intent of division of work is to produce more and better work for the same effort. Specialization is the most efficient way to use human efforts. In business, work can be performed more efficiently if it is divided into specialized tasks, each performed by specialist or trained employee. अभी आपको एक काम करना है, आप वो एक काम को एक इंडिविजुअल को देते हो और उसी सेम काम को आप 5 इंडिविजुअल्स को देते हो, तो क्या फर्क मिलेगा आपको? एक इंडिविजुअल जो एक काम को अकेले कर रहा है उसे सब काम अकेले करना पड़ेगा. वहां वो हर काम ऐसा कोई पोर्शन होगा जिसे वो अच्छे से करेगा, ऐसा कोई पोर्शन होगा जिसे वो अच्छे से नहीं कर पाएगा. लेकिन जहां आपने वो सिंगल काम को 5 लोगों में डिवाइड किया हुआ है, वहां हर एक बंदा जिसको एक एक काम अलॉट किया गया है वो उस काम को करते करते उसमें उसे स्पेशलाइजेशन मिल जाएगा. ठीक है. इट इज डिवाइडेड इनटू स्पेशलाइज्ड टास्क, each performed by specialist or trained employee. This result in efficient and effective output. So division of work leads to specialization, and specialization helps in increasing efficiency, which will overall increase productivity and profitability of the organization. So principle of division of work to all kinds of work. It is applied to all the kinds of work. You can't say to a particular work it is only applied to. It is applied to technical as well as managerial work. So what this principle leads to? This principle leads to achievement of better result, efficiency of work increases, increase in efficiency and ability of the personnel, quality and quantity of the production improves, and the wastages are avoided. Then comes the next principle, balancing authority and responsibility. What is authority? Authority means right to give order and responsibility means duty to perform the assigned task. So this principle says that there should be a balance between this authority and responsibility. If authority is more than responsibility, chances are that a manager may misuse it. And if responsibility is more than authority, then he may feel frustrated. अगर responsibility ज़्यादा हो जाता है, he may feel frustrated. अगर authority ज़्यादा हो जाता है, तो वो उसे misutilize कर सकता है. So there should be a balance between these two. Authority is both formal and informal. Managers require authority commensurate with their responsibility. So what this principle stresses on? This principle stresses on parity between authority and responsibility. Parity matlab equality. Authority not to be considered as a part of responsibility. Less authority makes an employee unable to perform his duty, and excessive authority may be misutilized. Authority कम नहीं होनी चाहिए, authority ज़्यादा नहीं होनी चाहिए. Responsibility authority के अनुसार होनी चाहिए. The next principle is principle of discipline. Discipline is the obedience to organizational rules and employment agreement which are necessary for working of an organization. प्रत्येक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के अपने रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस होते हैं और वहाँ हर एम्प्लॉय को रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस के अनुसार ही चलना चाहिए. अकॉर्डिंग टू फेयल, डिसिप्लिन रिक्वायर्स गुड सुपीरियर एट ऑल लेवल्स, क्लियर एंड फेयर एग्रीमेंट्स एंड judicious application of penalties. To establish discipline, good supervision and impartial judgments are needed. So what this principle stresses on? This principle stresses on managers should observe the principle of discipline at all the levels. ऐसा है कि हम लोगों ने अपने प्रीवियस क्लासेस में लेवल्स ऑफ मैनेजमेंट पढ़े हुए हैं, टॉप लेवल, मिडिल लेवल एंड द लोअर लेवल. सो डिसिप्लिन जो है वो हर लेवल में मानना जरूरी है. एम्प्लॉयज एंड अदर मेंबर्स टू वर्क इन अ डिसिप्लिन्ड मैनर, and discipline can be maintained by having good superiors at all levels and ensuring that penalties are judicially imposed. कि अगर कोई एम्प्लॉई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का रूल और रेगुलेशन नहीं मान रहा तो उस पर पेनाल्टी भी इम्पोज करना चाहिए और वो भी जुडिशियली. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट कम्स प्रिंसिपल ऑफ यूनिटी ऑफ कमांड. अकॉर्डिंग टू फेल, देयर शुड बी वन and only one boss for every individual employee. The principle of unity of command states that each participant in a formal organization should receive orders and instructions and should be responsible to one superior only. Dear students, the word unity means one. So FAIL emphasizes that an individual employee should receive orders and instructions from one superior only. If he receives orders from more than one superior, then it will lead to confusion. There will be uneasiness. अगर मैं एक एम्प्लॉय हूँ, मेरे ऊपर जो है 4 बॉसेस हैं. एक ने कहा आप अभी जाओ, दूसरे बॉस ने कहा नहीं आप मत जाओ, तीसरे ने कहा नहीं आप बैठो. किसकी बात सुनूं मैं? So I am one subordinate, 3 bosses, 4 bosses above me. किसकी बातें सुनूं मैं? तो इसीलिए कहा गया है कि एक एम्प्लॉय जो है सिर्फ एक सुपीरियर की बात को ध्यान से सुने, उनकी बात को फॉलो करें. सो यूनिटी ऑफ कमांड हेल्प्स इन फॉलोइंग बेनिफिट्स. इट विल बिकम easy to fix the responsibility in case of default. Employee will receive the exact order, क्योंकि मुझे पता है कि exactly मुझे एक ही superior से जो है order मिलना है. It will avoid duplication of work. सिर्फ एक superior ने मुझे order दिया तो मुझे मालूम है उन्होंने मुझे क्या order दिया, उनको भी मालूम होगा कि उन्होंने मुझे क्या order दिया. No overlapping of work. Work जो है वो बिल्कुल overlap करेगा ही नहीं. And then discipline will be maintained in the organization. तो इस तरह से ना कोई complications होगा, ना confusion होगा और discipline maintain होके रहेगा. If the principle of unity of command is violated, then the organization will not enjoy all these benefits. So अगर unity of command नहीं है तो ये सारे benefits भी नहीं हैं. Dear students, let us now read the 5th principle of management, unity of direction. This principle states that one head, one plan. All the units of an organization should be moving toward the same objective through coordinated and focused efforts. Each group of activities having the same objectives must have one head and one plan. This ensures unity of action and coordinated efforts. So the point of saying is, when a group of activities are to be performed under one head they should be clubbed together and kept under one head only. Okay. So what this principle helps in? This principle helps in avoiding duplication of work. It improves coordination in business organization. It increases the efficiency in organization and it ensures unity of action. Since we have already covered unity of command, now we have covered unity of direction, let us now quickly review what is the difference between the two. In case of unity of command, one subordinate should receive orders from and should be responsible to only one superior. Whereas in case of unity of direction, each group of activities having same objective must have one head and one plan. Then unity of command aims to prevent dual subordination, whereas unity of direction aims at preventing overlapping of activities. Unity of command affects an individual employee, whereas unity of direction affects the entire organization. Let us now read the next principle. Subordination of individual interest to the general interest. What this principle says? According to this principle, individual interests and organizational goals must be reconciled. Further, employees should surrender their personal interest before the general interest of the organization. It means that interest of business organization must prevail upon the personal interest of the individual. Dear students, when group of people are working in the organization, हर व्यक्ति का अपना एक मोटिव है काम करने का. When I work in the organization, some people work for money, some people work for reward, some people work for recognition. यानी कि एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में जब मैं काम कर रही हूँ, मेरा मोटिव है ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल ऑब्जेक्टिव को अचीव करना. साथ ही साथ मैं ये चाहती हूँ कि अगर मैं अच्छा काम करूँ तो मेरी जो है सैलरी बढ़ जाए, मुझे अवार्ड मिले, मुझे रिकॉग्निशन मिले. तो ये जो है मेरा इंडिविजुअल इंटरेस्ट है. लेकिन यहाँ पॉइंट ये है कि हर एम्प्लॉय के अपने इंडिविजुअल इंटरेस्ट तो होते हैं, लेकिन उन्हें ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंस हमें नहीं देना चाहिए. वी शुड गिव इंपॉर्टेंस to the interest of the organization. So here the individual interest is subordinated. जैसे हम कहते हैं ना कि superior and subordinate. So here the organizational interest is superior and the individual interest is subordinate. In all the situations, the interest of the group or the company will supersede the interest of any one individual. This is so because larger interest of the workers and stakeholders are more important than the interest of any one person. किसी एक आदमी के इंटरेस्ट के लिए पूरे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को बलि का बकरा नहीं बनाया जा सकता, उसके लिए पूरे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन सफर नहीं करनी चाहिए. So the point of saying is, if the organizational objectives are achieved, then in a way your individual interest or your individual objectives can be achieved. But we can't say the other way is correct. If your individual objectives are achieved, if I am rewarded, that doesn't mean that organization has achieved its goal. So what this principle states? This principle states that the goal of the organization must not be sacrificed for the personal interest. Conflict between individual interest and common interest should be abolished. Common interest should be given priority over the individual interest. So here common interest means interest of the group, interest of the organization should be given more priority over the individual interest. Then comes remuneration. Remuneration of employees should be just and equitable. The overall pay and compensation that a person get is called the remuneration. And उसे जो compensation मिलता है, उसको जो salary या wage हम जो भी नाम दे सकते हैं उसको, it should be just, justifiable and equitable. Equal होना चाहिए, it should be fair. It should be fair to both the employees as well as organization. किस तरह एम्प्लॉय के लिए इतना फेयर होना चाहिए कि आजकल की महंगाई में मैं ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से जितना सैलरी पा रही हूँ उतने में मैं आसानी से चल पाऊँ, और एज एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन मैं एज एन इंडिविजुअल मैं ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से उतना ही डिमांड करूँ जितना ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में मुझे पेमेंट करने की कैपेबिलिटी हो. सो द एम्प्लॉय शुड बी पेड फेयर वेजेस विच शुड गिव देम एटलीस्ट अ रीजनेबल स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग. At the same time, it should be within the paying capacity of a company. This will ensure congenial atmosphere and good relations between workers and management. So अगर मुझ में एज अ कंपनी, मैं कंपनी में हूँ, कंपनी जो है पे कर सकता है आपको, और आपको जितना पे किया जा रहा है आप उससे खुश हो, तो आप खुश हो, आप खुशी खुशी काम कर रहे हो कंपनी में, और मैं एज एन एम्प्लॉयर मैं भी खुश हूँ आपके काम से, मैं आपको पे कर पा रही हूँ, आप अच्छे से काम कर रहे हो, so we both are happy. Clear? So what this principle helps in? This principle helps in reducing the tensions and differences among the workers and the management. कोई टेंशन और प्रॉब्लम तो आनी नहीं वाली अगर दोनों एम्प्लॉयज एंड एम्प्लॉयर्स खुश हैं. Job satisfaction among the employees increases, pleasing atmosphere of the working in the organization and harmonious relationship between superiors and the subordinate. Then comes centralization and decentralization. क्या मतलब है इन दो वर्ड्स का? The concentration of decision making authority is called centralization, whereas dispersal among more than one person is known as decentralization. यानी कि अगर मैं कहूँ कि मैं एक फंक्शन ऑर्गेनाइज कर रही हूँ और वहाँ कोई भी डिसीजन लेना हो तो सिर्फ मुझसे पूछो, तो यहाँ जो है सेंट्रलाइज्ड डिसीजन मेकिंग है, सिर्फ मैं ही ले सकती हूँ और कोई नहीं ले सकता. लेकिन अगर मेरे अंडर दो और मेरे सबऑर्डिनेट्स हैं और मैं कहती हूँ कि ठीक है, अगर वो भी अगर जो डिसीजन लेते हैं उनको आप मान सकते हो, मुझे पूछने की जरूरत नहीं है, तो यहाँ क्या है, मैंने जो है अपने जो अथॉरिटी को उनको डेलीगेट किया, और यहाँ जो है डिसीजन मेकिंग का जो पावर है वो सिर्फ मेरे पास नहीं है, मेरे दो सबऑर्डिनेट्स के पास भी है. तो इसे हम कहेंगे डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन. सो अकॉर्डिंग टू फेल देयर इज अ नीड टू बैलेंस subordinate involvement through decentralization with managers retention of final authority through centralization. इसका मतलब यह है कि एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में जितनी सेंट्रलाइजेशन होनी चाहिए उसी के बराबर डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन का होना जरूरी है. कितना सेंट्रलाइजेशन कितना डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन ये डिपेंड करता है ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के स्ट्रक्चर पे, और भी फैक्टर्स हैं, लेकिन कहने का मतलब ये है कि एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में सेंट्रलाइजेशन और डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन के बीच तालमेल होना बहुत जरूरी है. The degree of centralization will depend upon the circumstance in which the company is working. In general, large organizations have more decentralized, okay, they are more decentralized than small organization. जहाँ organizational structure बहुत large है, तो वहाँ centralized organizational structure बिल्कुल काम ही नहीं आएगा, वहाँ decentralized structure चाहिए. और जहाँ organization बहुत small है, वहाँ decentralization की जरूरत नहीं है, वहाँ centralized decision making काम आएगा. So the proportion of centralization and decentralization is mainly decided after taking into consideration the following. What are they? Nature of work, nature of efficiency, efficiency यानी मैनेजर की जो कैपेबिलिटी है और एम्प्लॉयज की जो कैपेबिलिटी है उनकी जो एफिशिएंसी है. एक्सपीरियंस लेवल ऑफ द एग्जीक्यूटिव्स, जो एग्जीक्यूटिव्स हैं अगर डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन होगा उनको डिसीजन लेना होगा, या अगर सेंट्रलाइजेशन है तो वो कितना एक्सपीरियंस लेवल ऑफ द एग्जीक्यूटिव्स उनका क्या है. एंड देन डिसीजन मेकिंग कैपेसिटी ऑफ द एग्जीक्यूटिव्स. इफ एट ऑल यू आर गोइंग टू मेक इट डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड, देन वेदर दे हैव गॉट द कैपेसिटी, द एग्जीक्यूटिव्स हैव गॉट द कैपेसिटी टू मेक डिसीजंस और नॉट. देन कम्स स्केलर चेन. An organization consists of superiors and subordinates. We have read it. The formal line of authority from highest to lowest rank is called scalar chain. According to Fayol, organizations should have a chain of authority and communication that runs from the top to bottom and should be followed by managers and subordinates. यानी कि हमने already levels हमने पढ़ा हुआ है, टॉप लेवल, मिडिल लेवल और लोअर लेवल में कम्युनिकेशन, या फिर अगर कोई भी ऑर्डर्स को फ्लो करना है या फिर सुपीरियर्स को कुछ कम्युनिकेट करना है या सबऑर्डिनेट के ग्रीवेंसेस अगर सुपीरियर तक पहुंचाने हैं तो कैसे फ्लो करेगा. देयर शुड बी अ लाइन ऑफ अथॉरिटी. क्लियर? अकॉर्डिंग टू फेल, ऑल अपवर्ड एंड डाउनवर्ड कम्युनिकेशन शुड फॉलो थ्रू ईच पोजीशन ऑफ अथॉरिटी अलॉन्ग विद द स्केलर चेन. तो स्केलर चेन में जितने भी पोजीशंस हैं, जितने लाइन ऑफ अथॉरिटी में आपके जितने भी पोजीशंस आते हैं ना, आप जब कोई भी कम्युनिकेशन करते हो, चाहे वो अपवर्ड हो यानी कि लोअर लेवल से अप टॉप लेवल के बीच में कम्युनिकेशन हो रहा है, या वो डाउनवर्ड है यानी कि टॉप लेवल के जो एग्जीक्यूटिव्स हैं वो लोअर लेवल को कम्युनिकेट कर रहे हैं, किसी भी माध्यम से अगर आप कम्युनिकेट कर रहे हैं तो आप किसी भी पोजीशंस को एलिमिनेट नहीं कर सकते. सो पॉइंट ऑफ सेइंग इज, student, just have a look on this. अपवर्ड कम्युनिकेशन और डाउनवर्ड कम्युनिकेशन दोनों हो रहा है। अगर आप अपवर्ड कम्युनिकेशन कर रहे हो तो 1 2 3 4 5 आपको कवर करके ही EDCBA के तक आना पड़ेगा। अपवर्ड कम्युनिकेशन करते वक्त 1 से 5 तक जाएंगे, Z तक पहुंचेगा, फिर Z जो कम्युनिकेट करेगा वो A तक आएगा। आप बीच में कोई पोजीशन छोड़ नहीं सकते। लेकिन अगर ऐसा है कि भाई 3 जो बंदा है उसको अर्जेंटली C से बात करनी है तो वो क्या करे? अगर वेट करता रह जाएगा तो टाइम तो चला जाएगा, तो क्या करेगा वो डायरेक्टली बात कर सकता है। इसको बोलते हैं हम हॉरिजॉन्टल कम्युनिकेशन, तो उसको हम बोलेंगे गैंग प्लैंक। So this principle gives the benefit, it helps in following the principles of unity of command. There is clear delegation of authority and there is effective communication. Then comes order. What is this order? There should be an order for material and people in the organization. हर एक चीज का और हर एक व्यक्ति का ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में अपना एक जगह होता है। मटेरियल के जो प्लेस को हम मटेरियल ऑर्डर बोलते हैं और सोशल, हमारे जो पीपल का जो जगह है उसको हम सोशल ऑर्डर बोलते हैं। तो ये प्रिंसिपल क्या कहता है? अकॉर्डिंग टू फेल, people and material must be in suitable place at appropriate time for maximum efficiency. यानी कि हर चीज को उसके रेस्पेक्टिव जगह पे होनी चाहिए वो चीज। अगर अभी मैं इक्विपमेंट ढूंढ रही हूं तो वो इक्विपमेंट उसी जगह पे होनी चाहिए। आप गैस चाय बनाने जा रहे हो, आपको लाइटर या फिर मैच बॉक्स की जरूरत है, आप उसे डाइनिंग रूम में या बेडरूम में तो नहीं ढूंढोगे, गैस के पास ही ढूंढोगे क्योंकि उसकी पोजीशन वहीं पे है। तो वही बात हो गई। सो if there is a fixed place for everything and it is present there, then there will not be any hindrances in doing any of the activities. So ये principle क्या कहता है? This principle ensures efficiency in business operation, better supervision and control, and balances in all types of resources. Then आती है equity. Management, the principle of equity states that management should be fair as well as friendly to all the subordinates. While delegating work by the superior to the subordinate, there should not be any kind of discrimination between the employees. यानी कि on the basis of gender, caste, religion, nationality आप कोई भी differentiate नहीं कर सकते हो. Okay? So this principle states that if you follow this principle, then there will be cordial relationship between superior and subordinate. There will not be any conflict. Your job satisfaction will increase and the employees' morale will increase. क्योंकि आप में कोई differentiate नहीं हो रहा, आप अच्छे से काम कर रहे हो organization में. Then comes stability of tenure of personnel. Personnel means employees. So इसका मतलब ये है कि जितने एम्प्लॉयज आपके ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में काम कर रहे हैं उनके काम करने की जो अवधि है उसमें एक स्टेबिलिटी होनी चाहिए. Employee turnover should be minimized to maintain organizational efficiency. This is what FAIL says. Personnel should be selected and appointed after due and rigorous procedure of the selection. No employee should be moved with short time because employee cannot work efficiently if you are going to move them from one job to another. So this principle states that it creates a sense of belongingness. If an employee stays in your organization for a longer period of time, he develops a kind of attachment. He works, he knows your organization, and already you have spent so much of money in his training and development. So why would you allow or why would you create a situation that an employee will leave? So as far as practicable, you must try to develop a atmosphere so that the employee will retain in your organization for a considerable period of time. Then comes initiative. What is this initiative? Initiative means taking the first step with self motivation. It is thinking out and executing the plan. It is one of the traits of an intelligent person. According to the principle of management, if any employee is coming up with a new idea or experience, तो management को उसे welcome करना चाहिए. Okay, this is because an initiative gives satisfaction to employee, brings success to the organization. It also allows subordinate to think out of the plan and do what it takes to make it happen. So what is the advantage of this principle? This principle creates interest among the employees in the job. It creates job satisfaction for the employees. It increases the efficiency of the employees, increases the organizational strength and zeal of the employee. The last one is Esprit de Corps. This principle says that there should be harmony and peace among the employees. A manager should replace the word I with we in all his conversations. He should give importance to team spirit. So Esprit de Corps means team spirit. We should give importance to team spirit. No individual. We all are working together. Dear students, if we are following all these 14 principles, then in any organization, success cannot go out of the hand of the managers. I conclude my session here. Thank you.